I think it's been very refreshing to hear Prince Harry over the last few days. And I think his testimony has gone so much further than his second-rate book, Spare. I've got a copy of the book, I've read it, and I've encouraged other people to read it for my sins. And I think the ghostwriter has failed Harry, because Harry himself is extremely eloquent, is extremely vulnerable, and his personality oozes across, even in the reports from the courtroom. And none of that personality came across in the book. The stories were entertaining, but they were just stories. They didn't have a lot of heart. Even in reports, the courtroom was throbbing with heart. And one thought is sort of etched on my mind, that here is a fellow who has lived his life in fear that any friend, any family member is not to be trusted. And why? Because he didn't know. His phones were bugged, his voicemails were hijacked by the tabloid press, by people like Piers Morgan, he supposes. And he couldn't trust anybody. Think of that. Think of that. And then those people who are sort of gabbling on social media and who are so keen for this sort of legal proof. There doesn't need to be a legal proof. All we need to do is to hear that sort of wretched vulnerability which we heard. That this is somebody whose life has been upturned by the paranoia that he's inherited from his mother, and that one way or another has been filtered from the rest of the royal family. And you think, so many of that family have been damaged by this predatory pressure from the press. And it doesn't need to be like that. It doesn't need to be like that. The bugs under the cars, the private detectives, the questions to doctors, the talking to servants, talking to staff, quite apart from the phone tapping itself. All of this is predatory behaviour, and most of it is borderline legal. And I think Harry has won his case. And unlike somebody like Hugh Grant, who slipped into this life after having a life in Oxford. I remember him in Oxford. He always used to wear his scholar's gown, which was rather entertaining and slightly fetching. I remember him at a few parties, actually. And Hugh Grant was an ordinary person. Ordinary. And then he slipped into celebrity. Harry has never been ordinary. Harry has had this all his life. I can't think of very many other people who've been in that position. And he's yoked up with Meghan Markle. And the press has done its best to vilify them both. I must say, I don't think Meghan Markle is my favourite person. But I think she's a different kettle of fish to Harry. Different entirely. Like Hugh Grant, she's someone who has acquired fame and the trappings of fame. It's very different. Oh, Bay is sloshing his tail all over the place. I think he's been a bit lonely today. But anyway, that's it. That's it. I think Harry has done very well to get out his case. And I don't think it matters what the judge decides. I think the statement is out there and he knows it. And he knows it. And so does his family. And if I were his family, I'd be very proud of him. And I'm really sorry that that the family is so fractured at the moment. It's now time for William to reach out and for his father to reach out from Transylvania.